The phone call came on a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after we laid my son Michael to rest. I was standing in my kitchen in North Vancouver, staring at the coffee maker without really seeing it. The house felt too quiet. It had been that way since the accident. My wife Susan was at her book club, trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy, but I knew she was just going through the motions like I was. When my phone rang, I didn't recognize the number. Patterson? This is Joel Ramirez. I was the videographer at your son's funeral. I remembered him vaguely. A younger man, maybe mid-30s, who had set up cameras discreetly around the chapel. Michael's wife, Rebecca, had insisted on having the service filmed. At the time, I thought it was strange, but grief makes people do unusual things. I assumed she wanted something to look back on, something to help her remember. Yes, Joel. How can I help you? There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing, as if he was trying to decide whether to continue. Patterson, I need to meet with you in person. There's something on the footage that I think you need to see. Something I can't explain over the phone. My hand tightened around the coffee mug. What kind of something? I'd rather show you. Can you come to my studio today? And Mr. Patterson, maybe don't mention this to anyone just yet, especially not to Rebecca. After we hung up, I stood there for several minutes, my mind racing. What could possibly be on that video? Michael's funeral had been heartbreaking but unremarkable. Rebecca had sobbed through the entire service. Our friends and family had gathered, sharing memories of my boy. What could Joel have possibly noticed that required secrecy? I didn't tell Susan where I was going. I just said I needed to run some errands. Joel's studio was in a small commercial building in East Vancouver. When I arrived, he was waiting for me at the door, looking like he hadn't slept. His eyes were shadowed, his expression troubled. Thank you for coming, Mr. Patterson. I've been debating whether to show you this for the past week. I almost deleted it, but I kept thinking, if it were my father, I'd want to know. He led me to his editing suite, a small room with multiple monitors. My stomach was churning. What was I about to see? The funeral was filmed from multiple angles, Joel explained, pulling up files on his computer. The main camera was focused on the service, but I had 2 secondary cameras for wider shots. One of them was positioned at the back of the chapel, capturing the entire room. He opened a video file. I saw the chapel, rows of mourners, the casket at the front with flowers surrounding it. There was Michael's photo, my boy at 35, smiling that crooked smile he'd had since childhood. This is approximately 43 minutes into the service, Joel said quietly. During the eulogy that Rebecca gave, he pressed play. I watched Rebecca stand at the podium, her face streaked with tears, talking about Michael, how they'd met at a hospital fundraiser 5 years ago, how he'd proposed on Grouse Mountain, how he was her everything. The camera angle was from behind and to the side, showing both Rebecca and the gathered mourners. Watch the right side of the screen, Joel said. I leaned closer. In the back corner of the chapel, partially obscured by other mourners, I could see Rebecca's sister Amanda standing alone. She was looking down at something. Her phone. Keep watching. As Rebecca continued her emotional eulogy about losing the love of her life, Amanda's face caught the light. She wasn't crying. She wasn't even sad. She was smiling. Not a small, reminiscent smile, but a broad grin, and she was typing rapidly on her phone. Joel paused the video. I almost missed it, but when I was editing, I noticed the expression didn't match the moment, so I enhanced the footage. He zoomed in on Amanda's phone screen. The angle was fortunate. The camera had captured it at just the right moment. The text message was partially visible. It's done. The insurance pays out in 30 days. Then we're free. I felt the blood drain from my face. What is this? Joel pulled up another clip. This is from the reception afterward. The camera was set up near the refreshments table. In this footage, Amanda was standing with a man I didn't recognize. Tall, dark-haired, expensive suit. They were partially hidden behind a pillar, but the camera angle caught them clearly. Amanda was pressed against him, his hand on her lower back. They were laughing quietly about something. The intimacy between them was unmistakable. Who is that? I asked. I don't know, but watch this. Joel showed me another clip from earlier in the reception. Rebecca was accepting condolences from guests, playing the devastated widow perfectly. The camera panned, and there, for just a moment, I saw her make eye contact with Amanda and the mysterious man. She gave them the slightest nod. So subtle that if you weren't looking for it, you'd never notice. My hands were shaking. Michael died in a car accident. His brakes failed going down the sea-to-sky highway. The police said it was a mechanical failure. I know, Joel said gently. I looked up the news reports after I saw this. Patterson, I'm not saying anything definitively happened, but I thought you should see this. What you do with it is up to you. I drove home in a daze. My mind kept replaying those images. Rebecca sobbing at the funeral while her sister grinned and sent messages about insurance money. That man, that nod between them. When had Michael gotten life insurance? How much was it for? I couldn't go home yet. I couldn't face Susan without knowing more. So I drove to Richmond, to the apartment Michael and Rebecca had shared. I still had a key from when I'd helped them move in 3 years ago. The apartment was exactly as Michael had left it. Rebecca had moved back in with her parents after the funeral, saying she couldn't bear to be there alone. I'd thought it was grief. Now I wondered. I started searching. I didn't even know what I was looking for. But I had to find something. In Michael's home office, I found the filing cabinet. Insurance policies, mortgage documents, tax returns. And there it was. A life insurance policy for $2 million, taken out 18 months ago. Michael's signature at the bottom. And the beneficiary was Rebecca. $2 million. My son had been a civil engineer. He made a good living. But we weren't wealthy people. Why would he need a $2 million policy? I kept digging through the files. That's when I found the bank statements. Michael's personal account, separate from the joint account he shared with Rebecca. Over the past year, there were multiple large withdrawals. $20,000 here, $30,000 there. In total, nearly $200,000 withdrawn over 12 months. I pulled out my phone and called Michael's best friend, Trevor. We'd grown close after the funeral, bonded by our shared loss. Robert, how are you holding up? Trevor, I need to ask you something. Did Michael ever mention anything to you about money problems? Or issues with Rebecca? A long silence. Why are you asking? Please, Trevor. It's important. He called me about a month before the accident. He was upset. He said Rebecca had been pressuring him to increase his life insurance. She said it was for their future, in case they had kids. But Michael felt weird about it. He said she was oddly insistent, almost obsessive. And he mentioned that Amanda had a new boyfriend, some finance guy. And suddenly both Rebecca and Amanda were talking about investments and money constantly. Did he say anything else? He said he'd been noticing strange charges on their credit card. Expensive restaurants he'd never been to. A hotel room in Whistler when Rebecca said she was visiting her mom in Kelowna. When he confronted her, she got angry and accused him of not trusting her. She cried and said the stress of his suspicions was destroying their marriage. Michael felt guilty. He dropped it. After we hung up, I sat in Michael's office chair, my head in my hands. My boy had known something was wrong. He'd sensed it. But Rebecca had manipulated him into doubting himself. I needed professional help. The next morning, I hired a private investigator named Sandra Chen. I showed her everything I'd found, including Joel's video footage. I've seen cases like this before, Sandra said grimly. Give me 2 weeks. Those 2 weeks were torture. I had to pretend everything was normal. I had to attend a dinner at Rebecca's parents' house, where she played the grieving widow, wearing Michael's old Canucks jersey, showing everyone the memorial tattoo she'd gotten of his initials. I had to hug her and tell her we were family forever, all while knowing what I knew. Sandra called me on a Friday evening. We need to meet. At her office, she laid out a folder thick with documents and photographs. Rebecca met Marcus Dalton 8 months ago at a charity gala. He works in private equity, makes significant money. They started an affair immediately. I have photos of them at hotels, restaurants, her apartment when your son was out of town for work. She showed me the photos. Rebecca and Marcus, holding hands, kissing, looking very much like a couple in love. Amanda's engaged to Marcus's business partner, James Chen. The 4 of them have been planning this for at least 6 months. I found text messages, though I can't use them legally. They discuss the insurance payout and how they'll split it. Apparently, Rebecca and Marcus are planning to move to the Cayman Islands once the money clears. And Michael's accident? Sandra's face was grave. Your son's car was serviced at a mechanic shop in Burnaby 2 days before the accident. The owner is Marcus's cousin. I spoke to a mechanic there. Off the record, he quit the day after your son died. He said he was asked to do something that didn't sit right with him. but he was scared to refuse. They murdered him. The words came out as a whisper. They murdered my son for insurance money. I've compiled everything I can, but some of it wouldn't hold up in court. The video from the funeral is circumstantial. The affair is provable but not illegal. The mechanic won't go on record out of fear. We need more. I went home that night and told Susan everything. She collapsed into my arms, sobbing. Our son hadn't just died in a tragic accident. He'd been murdered by the woman who'd promised to love him. We have to go to the police, Susan said. We will. But first, I need Rebecca to confess. Over the next 3 days, I set a trap. I called Rebecca and told her I'd been going through Michael's things and found some concerning financial documents. I said I wanted to meet with her and Amanda to discuss Michael's estate and make sure everything was in order. Rebecca agreed immediately, probably thinking she needed to manage whatever I'd found. We met at a lawyer's office I'd rented for the occasion. Rebecca arrived with Amanda. Both were dressed conservatively, playing their roles. I had Sandra hidden in an adjoining room with recording equipment. In British Columbia, you can record conversations you're part of without the other party's knowledge. Thank you both for coming, I said. I've been reviewing Michael's insurance policy and financial records. There are some irregularities I wanted to discuss. Rebecca's face was composed. Of course, Robert, I want everything to be transparent. Michael would want that. The life insurance policy for $2 million. That's substantial. When did Michael take that out? About 1.5 years ago. We were planning for our future. Her voice trembled slightly. We talked about having children. Interesting. Because I also found nearly $200,000 withdrawn from his personal account over the past year. Large cash withdrawals. Do you know what those were for? I saw Amanda and Rebecca exchange a glance. Quick, but I caught it. I'm not sure, Rebecca said. Michael handled his own finances. Really? Because I spoke with the bank. Many of those withdrawals happened on days when Michael was out of town for work. Days when someone with access to his accounts and passwords would have been in Vancouver. Rebecca's composure cracked slightly. What are you suggesting, Robert? I'm suggesting that someone was draining my son's accounts. The same someone who convinced him to take out a massive life insurance policy. The same someone who was having an affair with a man named Marcus Dalton while my son was alive. Amanda stood up. This is ridiculous. We don't have to listen to this. Sit down, Amanda. I'm not finished. My voice was ice. I know about Marcus. I know about James. I know about your plans to split the insurance money and disappear. And I know about the mechanic shop in Burnaby where Michael's car was serviced 2 days before his brakes mysteriously failed on a highway descent. Rebecca's face went white. You can't prove any of that. I have video footage from the funeral. Of you nodding to Amanda and Marcus. Of Amanda texting about insurance money while you were giving a eulogy about losing your soulmate. I have photographs of you and Marcus together for months before Michael died. I have bank records. I have testimony from Michael's friends about how you pressured him. I have everything. The room was silent. Rebecca was trembling now. Her carefully constructed facade crumbling. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she whispered. Amanda grabbed her arm. Rebecca, shut up. We need a lawyer. But Rebecca wasn't listening. The weight of what she'd done, the performance she'd been maintaining, it all came pouring out. I didn't want to hurt him. Marcus said it would be quick. The brakes would fail, and it would look like an accident. Michael wouldn't suffer. We just needed the money. Marcus has debts. Gambling debts. Dangerous people. We were desperate. You murdered my son because your boyfriend had gambling debts? My voice broke. Michael loved you. He would have helped you if you'd just asked. But instead, you killed him? Rebecca was crying now. Real tears, but not tears of remorse. Tears of someone caught. Someone whose plans had fallen apart. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It got out of control. We were in too deep. I stood up. The police are outside. They've been listening to everything. You and Amanda and Marcus and James are going to pay for what you did to my son. The door opened. 2 Royal Canadian Mounted Police officers entered. The trial took 8 months. Rebecca's confession, combined with Sandra's investigation and the evidence we'd compiled, built an overwhelming case. The mechanic, once offered immunity, testified about being coerced into sabotaging Michael's brakes. Marcus's text messages were recovered, detailing the plan. Amanda's phone records showed constant communication with Rebecca in the weeks leading up to Michael's death. Rebecca was sentenced to 25 years for second-degree murder. Marcus got 20 years as an accessory. Amanda and James both received 15 years for conspiracy and fraud. It's been 2 years now since that phone call from Joel. I still miss my son every single day. I still wake up sometimes expecting to see his truck in the driveway when he'd stop by for Sunday breakfast. But at least I know the truth. At least he got justice. Susan and I established a foundation in Michael's name, supporting road safety initiatives and helping families of accident victims. We turned our grief into purpose. Last week, I visited Michael's grave in Forest Lawn Cemetery. I sat there in the spring sunshine and told him what I tell him every time. You were loved, son. You were always loved. And the people who hurt you paid the price. You can rest now. Sometimes people ask me if I regret pursuing the truth. If ignorance would have been easier, the answer is always no. Michael deserved better than to be forgotten, to have his death written off as a tragic accident while his murderers spent his insurance money on a beach somewhere. He deserved justice, and I made sure he got it. That videographer, Joel, saved my family in a way he'll never fully understand. He could have deleted that footage, convinced himself it was none of his business. Instead, he made a difficult choice to come forward. I'll be grateful to him for the rest of my life. To anyone listening to this story, I want you to hear this. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. Don't let people manipulate you into doubting what you know in your gut. And most importantly, never stop fighting for the people you love, even after they're gone. Michael can't speak for himself anymore, but I can speak for him, and I will for as long as I live.